right, good afternoon. 12:30 on the dot. Yes, it is time for parenting. Today, welcome back to your favorite show on your number one talk radio station, the Midday Show, on your home of conversations, 913 on the dial. It is time for parenting today. Now, are you hoping to become the best parent you possibly can be? Are you hoping to also, ensure that you're churning out the right individuals? Children grow up to become adults. It's nobody's prayer to bury a child. So whatever you instill in them from the onset would reflect in their lives later on when they're in charge of making their own decisions. Nonetheless, parenting is a never-ending job, and one that entails conscious efforts and the much needed information. All right, no one is perfect, but we can all get better by the day. Now, speaking about getting better by the day, I am joined virtually with a parenting expert, someone that I feel has cracked the cheat code. I want to say cheat code because she put in the work. So she's basically cracked the whole code as regards parenting and doing a fantastic job. I'm talking about the CEO of LagosMums, who hasn't agreed to CEO of Global Moms, but is still in the courthouse. Anyways, I'm joined by Yetty WIlliams. Good afternoon, Miss Yetty.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Glad to hear from you. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Hope you've had a good week.
I just feel like, for reasons unknown, I don't feel I've had enough sleep. But hey, I'm fine. All right. Now, Miss Yetty, thank you for today's topic. It is one that I would love for you to introduce the topic, right, for today, because I know it has to do with youngsters and devices, smartphones. But if you will take up the lead, however, I would love to hear from it. I personally have like two pending questions, but I'll project the spotlight on you so you can take the lead.
Yeah, fantastic. No worries. So the topic today is really around what age or when should children get, smartphones?
Yeah, the right age for smartphones. Yes.
Age for smartphones. And if I was to think about most of the questions I get from parents, it's usually, in fact, it's almost as if the whole world has changed. And, when I started running LagosMums conferences, parenting conferences, 10 years ago when I had the first one, the theme, what I call that particular conference, was raising a global citizen. And it's almost as if, looking back, I had I don't know, I was a genie, or I had some kind of magic ball that showed that the way the future would go, everything would become so global, so intertwined and so connected because of digital. And, we look now, 10 years later, we're running the conference again, and a lot of the conversation, most parents that get in touch with me, most people that are struggling with something or the other when it comes to their family dynamics, their parenting, digital technology, social media is probably 95% of the challenges that people are facing today. And if I was to look at some of the most common questions I get, it's usually around what is the right age to give my child a device, usually a smartphone, and or how much time is too much time when it comes to screen. So those are very, very, very common questions and challenges people face. So let's come back to the question, which is, what is the right age?
Exactly. Right? Yes. That is a question that I feel like, hey, I don't know if I don't know if I've been able to come up with the right answer, because there's so many questions that go through your head. And unfortunately, it feels like more of the negative questions seem to spring up more often than the positive ones. But I'd love to hear from you, Miss Yetty, if you do not mind.
Yeah. So when it comes to the right age, in fact, when I was preparing for this, I said in the caption on social media that the answer of what the right age might surprise most people.
Really?
Yes. And why I say that is for two reasons. One is there's not one magic number.
Okay.
And secondly, is that the decision to give a child a smart device is life-changing, not even just for the child, but for the parent.
Oh, really?
So if a parent is not ready to do the additional work that comes with having a child who has a smartphone, then do not give that child the phone.
Oh, wow. Okay. Really? Yes. You don't think, like, in this day and age, we live in a digital era, like every child should have a device? You feel like there are some who should probably not be getting any, at least till they're a certain age?
So what I was trying to say there was that, there's no perfect age.
Okay.
And we'll discuss why there's no perfect age, number one.
Okay.
And number two is that whenever the parent decides to give the child a smartphone, I'm saying that parent has to be ready to do the work that comes with it. So it's not a magic where you say, okay, 13 or 15 or 16 is the magic number to give the child a phone. And once I give that child a phone, then we're okay. Absolutely not. Because there are some 13-year-olds who, frankly, are more mature than 16 years old.
Wow.
16 years, so there's no magic age because it depends on who you ask. But what I would say is, are you ready as a parent to do the work, to monitor them, to be checking what they are doing, to put all the controls in place, and to realize that it is going to be demanding. It is going to be tasking for you as a parent to ensure that your child is safe online. So you need to ask yourself those questions first before you say whether or not you're giving a child a smartphone.
Wow. Thank you so much. Now, speaking about, giving a child a smartphone, I want to ask a question, right? Miss Yetty, for some parents who feel like, okay, they need to give a child a smartphone. Nonetheless, they're worried about exposure to different factors over the internet that they might not be able to control. What would you tell such a parent that's worried about, different social media platforms and these kids just becoming tech savvy, possibly even becoming more acquainted with how it works with, all of these devices and being able to just, bypass their parents' capacities and finding out things would rather not have them find out over the internet? How would you advise a parent who's still, flirting with that fear?
Yeah, everybody is flirting with that fear. That's the truth. It's reality.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of some parents are on that table and some are not. If a child is exposed to the internet, the child has access to the internet, is very likely. It's not really about if, but it's about when the child comes across something inappropriate online. Will they know what to do? Will they know what the steps are to take? Which is why I say the task actually lies more with the parents. Before you give a child a phone, whether you feel like you have to, even that question of I have to, you don't have to do anything.
Really?
But you need to decide what you are doing and why. What I mean by you don't have to is think about why you're giving your child a smartphone or what was the smartphone made for. I've shared this example before when my children started asking for phones when I think my first one was about 8 years old asking for a phone. I asked her, what do you want a phone for? She said, I want to be able to call mom and dad. I said, okay. Anything else? She said, I want to be able to text you. I said, okay. Anything else? So that was it. And you know the kind of phone I got for her?
Those really small ones.
Yes. They even called it dumb phone, but I said, but you say you want a phone to do this and this and this. Does it not do those things?
Oh, really? Okay.
That was what they started out with. Was just a phone that allows you to call and to text. Remember, a smartphone is a phone that's connected to the internet. No child at 8 or any child for that matter who has not been prepared for how to be safe online should be getting a smartphone. Because there's something about smartphones that gets people into that rabbit hole of almost being addicted to using devices. So if you have not prepared them ahead of time, please don't give them a smartphone.
Oh, wow.
The second thing is a lot of parents will say, yeah, but I need to give my child a phone because I need to be able to reach them. I need to know when they've gotten home. I need to know when they've been on the school bus and all. Once again, does it have to be smartphone to do those things?
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. You want to be able to reach them. It doesn't have to be a smartphone for you to be able to reach them. So I go back to asking the parents, why do you feel you have to give them a smartphone?
All right. Funny enough, just like you read my mind, we have a message, and I'm gonna put out the phone lines where you can reach us on. We're gonna be going a break shortly, but before then, if you want to join the conversation, as is the norm right here on your home of conversations, feel free to join us via X, also known as Twitter. You can send us a tweet using the hashtag Parenting Today, asking questions. Today's topic: what really is the right age when it comes to giving your child or any child a smartphone? You can also join via WhatsApp, where you can call and send a voice note or a short message. Now, the number for WhatsApp, listen up, is 0809 234 5913. You can also call any of these numbers if you want to have any of your questions answered. Thankfully, we have Miss Yetty here who's going to be able to, field off all of these questions. Numbers to call: 0809 222 0913, 0809 234 5913, and the women only line 0809 1913913. Someone here, Hassana, says, my question is, if a child has a smartphone, aside homework, schoolwork, what other benefits do they stand to gain? That is Hassana from Ogba.
What other benefits do they have to gain from what? From a smartphone?
From having a smartphone, yes.
I don't even necessarily see a smartphone as, giving you the benefits of being able to do homework. Because if you have money to buy a smartphone, I would assume you have money to maybe buy a laptop or
a tablet. Okay.
And I think what it is that because a lot of us haven't taken the time to think about why, by giving a child a smartphone, most of us buy it and give it to them. We don't really think about why. We don't prepare the children, and then they get addicted to having this small device that's in the palm of their hand all the time. It's unlikely for a child to get so addicted to social media or whatever from a laptop. I'm not saying it's not possible, but there's something about having a smartphone that research is just generally showing that you are more likely to be stuck to your smartphone than you are to a tablet or a laptop. And when you give a child a device and you premise it by saying, we're investing and buying you this laptop or this tablet so that you can do research, you can do schoolwork, you can you list all of those things out. It's very different from have a phone to just have a phone. To the point that the other day, the children, I don't know what it was that we wanted them to do. I think it was to make a phone call on the phone or something. And they were like, how do you do that?
Wow, really?
Because for a lot of them, what do they use the phone for? Think about it. It's to chat. Right? It's for Snapchat. It's to chat. So they don't even think, I should pick up the phone and I can put somebody's phone number in and call them. It was a few years ago, but I remember when that happened, my husband and I looked at each other and thought, wow, children of today are so different. For them, a smartphone is to connect, to chat with people, to browse online, to use social media. Yeah, they're not thinking, it's for contacting people, making phone calls the way we were raised.
Wow. Funny enough, I have messages. Wow. So let me just quickly put out the phone lines and then we can carry on. For those who might want to connect and ask, a few questions. Are you a parent who's worried about giving your child a smartphone? Perhaps you say, they're too young, or with the way the world is, I don't want to be at that point where I'm exposing my child and it's going to come back to haunt me, right? What age? Now, we know that before the break, Miss Yetty did mention there isn't a perfect age. However, there are certain factors to take into consideration before equipping them. More so for parents who might be worried about, smartphones. How about you give them like a tablet or a laptop? Now, I have questions here. I'm going to start with, these are quite, I wouldn't say long, but hey, okay, so let me start with the first. This says, good day, ladies of Lagos Talks. Okay, my son doesn't like playing with other kids. He's a withdrawn child and has been that way since. Now he only wants to play games or read books on his device. Mind you, it is a tablet, and he's also the best performing student in his class. What should I look out for? This is Olisa from Ikoyi.
So, there are a couple of questions I would have, which is how old is the child? When he says always been like this, what does that mean? If a child is an introverted, quiet, but happy child that's thriving, then there's nothing wrong with not particularly being very social. I think that's how I read that question, was the child is reserved and they are worried if there's something to look out for. The main thing in terms of being worried if there's a change, a negative change in your child, is if they have changed their behavior over a period of time. So if a child has always been one of the more quiet ones, and there's really nothing to be concerned about. But maybe if you feel, you know what, after this child got this device, I noticed that the child didn't want to hang out with people anymore, was always on the device, or is always telling me they are reading. I don't know if they are reading or not. Then you want to pay some attention into what might be going on that you're not seeing.
Wow.
So it really depends on what are you noticing and what is a change. And if you have any reason to feel concerned, then you want to be able to identify exactly what you're concerned about so that you can then go deeper into those areas.
Wow, thank you so much for that. For those who want to call, 0809 234 5913, 0809 222 0913. For the women who want to be mothers, godmothers, aunts, grandmothers, the women only line is available, 0809 191 3913. All right, I have a question here. It says, my son got a tablet first week of June for his 16th birthday. Now he's always playing games, and I fear that these games will not help him in the long run. I seized it after church on Sunday and he threw a fit. He didn't eat the rest of that day and cried. He's just starting SS1 and I don't like this. Advise me. This is Damilola from Akure.
You know, at 16. So you see how earlier, Paula, I said that there's no perfect age for when a child should get a device.
True.
The 16-year-old who's getting an iPad. First of all, thank you, mommy, for even bringing it up. Because sometimes we are facing challenges, we don't speak out, so we don't even get the intervention we need to help the child to not get worse. Yes, his reaction isn't great. Yes, you don't want him to have reacted with tantrums and crying and being so unhappy.
True.
But the truth is, it is better that you found out now and you took action quickly a few months in than a parent who doesn't even know that their child is changing and is suddenly a year after. And some of the damage that has been done can be very difficult to undo. So in this case, absolutely, you know, for a child to react that harshly to not having their device, that is a bit of a red flag in my mind. So, but as a parent, you need to navigate it, because 16, they're not a child, you know?
Okay.
So you need to really start to understand what is happening. What have they been doing online? Because some children start playing video games that's very, that really pulls them in. You don't know who they've met there. You don't know what's going on there. So you need to almost do a layer by layer. What is happening? What is going on? Was this his first time having his own device? And then maybe he had it 24/7, maybe over the summer, for example, because that's the other thing with children on holiday. A lot of them, there are no rules when it comes to their screens.
Exactly.
There's no rules. So a child who uses their device 24/7, because summer is 8 weeks about. So imagine for 8 weeks, every single day, some children were just on screen from morning to night. You know, that rewire their brain.
Yeah, they can become addicted even without seeing any threat or harm.
It's enough time for a child to pick up some new habits and become addicted to something. So in this case, please, this mom, reach out to me, because there are things you must do to help your child. First of all, de-escalate that feeling of needing the device to now say, okay, what is the way forward? Because you are not going to hold the phone or the tablet forever. You are not. So the question is, how do you prepare this child to be responsible? SS1, they will soon finish secondary school now. When they go to uni, you won't follow them.
Oh, wow, true.
So that's
all right.
what I would advise in that case, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, we have about 3 more questions, right? Can we just have a run in? Someone here says, my daughter is very open with me. She's 14 plus years old. However, she shows me what circulates on TikTok and her class WhatsApp group. There are some that are sexual content, which we quickly delete, and I'm left worried. Now I'm worried. Should I seize her phone or should I let her be so she keeps on being open with me? Are they being paid from Marina?
Oof, these questions. I mean, the truth is, these children see so much online. They see so much. And the truth is, once you have given them, it's difficult to just take it back. So in this case, I understand the mom's concern that the child is open enough to even show you what she's seeing, which is fantastic. You want to build that relationship. Because if we don't have that relationship with these children today, you won't even know what's happening. The second thing is, if she seizes it from the child, you want to be careful where the child doesn't feel, oh, it's because I was telling you, Abby, that you seized it. Don't worry, I won't tell you again. Because you will eventually give that child the phone back. So what you want to do is really think through what kind of parental software maybe do you have on the child's phone.
Okay.
Yeah, so that can help you with
to filter some things.
Filter some things. It won't be perfect, but at least it will filter some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for that. Wow. Okay. Now, I have this question here. Someone says, I have two girls aged 11 and 13. They are both very active on TikTok and my husband hates it. We argue about it all the time. I'm beginning to toy with the idea of them making money as children influencers. My sister in Canada has been suggesting this to me. Should I look into it?
It depends, though. So first of all, there are two things. There's an external person that's your sister who doesn't live with you telling you children should go and make money online. You and your husband that live in the same house are not on the same page.
And you're arguing all the time about this.
You're arguing about the children's usage of TikTok, and then you want to go further by getting them involved in monetizing it. I personally, from this place, I wouldn't advise that.
Okay.
They are quite young. Did she say an age?
11 and 13.
That is very, very young.
Pretty young.
Heavy users of these platforms. I personally wouldn't advise it. At the end of the day, it's your decision. But what I would say is there's time for all of that. There's no need. And if a parent starts to encourage a child to use the devices, then guess what? Where are you going to draw the line? If a child feels mom is encouraging me to go and use it, let's ignore that. Don't mind daddy who's always making noise. Mom is behind us using it. You are creating a division, and it's not going to end very well.
Wow, thank you so much. Very quickly here. Okay, Emeka from Festac says, nothing to say here except tell Madam Yetty, good job. Keep up the good vibes. Okay. Thank you so much. It's always amazing. So in the end, it's safe to say there isn't a particular age that's perfect, as opposed to thinking, oh, it's age 11, it's age 13. But I'll say something, Miss Yetty, right? We saw something happen during the lockdown where kids were at home and they still had to, be a part of the school and its curriculum. Now, everything shifted from being physically present, these kids being in school, to like having everything done online. And I feel like right after that, a lot of parents haven't seen a need, to withdraw these devices. And I feel like it may have also, stirred the interest on and the usage, heighten the usage of these devices and platforms by these kids. But for a parent who's wondering, you know what, we're not in that season anymore, and perhaps my kids are like in primary school or just maybe JS1, do they still need to have this phone, especially if it's a smartphone, not just a tablet or a dumb phone? Would you say they can take it now, or they should just leave it because it's been with these kids for some time?
So what you said is not a feeling, it is a fact.
Okay.
Everybody moved online during the pandemic.
True.
You had young users, young children who might never have gotten devices. They had to get it because either they were continuing in school, they had to learn online. So we had a situation where we actually confused children. That's the truth. We all moved them online by force because that was the only way in that time for life to quote and unquote continue. Like you rightly pointed out, after the pandemic, most people didn't then go and say, okay, pandemic over, let us pull back.
True.
Because even for some schools that became very heavy on using online platforms to teach during the pandemic, a lot of them did not go back to pre-pandemic status.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? A lot of them just kind of continued with this, online learning works.
Yeah, so we can carry on.
Exactly. So the whole world has adjusted. And so that life pre-pandemic is gone, finished, is never going to come back. But we are where we are today. What we need to focus on is, how is it affecting our children? Can we see changes? What do we need to do as parents, paying attention to the fact that these tools can be very addictive, can be very negative. However, it can also be used for good. So that's what more parents need to get on is, okay, if it can be used for good, how am I ensuring that my child is benefiting from having these devices and having access to online? Guess what? Social media, phones, smartphones, they were not made with children in mind. Let's all remember that.
True.
They were not made, they were not designed for children. Children have started using it, but it wasn't made for them. As a result, the effects on their development can be very, very, very dire. So we as parents must be educated. Like, okay, what is happening? When do I give my child? People will say on average, anywhere from 10 to 13, you can give your child a phone. But once again, it depends on your child. Is your child ready? Some 13-year-olds, like I mentioned earlier, are more mature than 16.
You can imagine. It is true, though.
You need to know your child.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty. I feel like you've answered even more. You've given more answers than the questions. Thank you so much for taking out the time to equip us with the much needed knowledge, enlightening us. I'm glad that one thing I can say about parenting today, we don't only learn, we also unlearn.